What's up, YouTube? I'm Brett from Rants. As always, if y'all enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. We're on the road to 1,000. We hope you guys can help us get there. Alright, so Justice League 2 would have featured Harley Quinn death scene. It also would have featured the death scene of Lois Lane and of Aquaman. Now that the Snyder Cut has been released, it has kind of given me a little bit of mixed reviews. I will give, in a later episode, Lance and I here on Rants will tell what we really thought about the overall aspect of the Snyder Cut. But I'll save that for that video, a lot of my thoughts on it. But I will say this. Now that Snyder Cut has been released, does it kind of make fans feel a little bit like something was lost in all of this? Yes, we got the Snyder Cut. Yes, it was a win for fans. We got to see really just how good Justice League could have been, and kind of is, because I mean, I think the Whedon version of it is completely and totally out of the question. I think now it is Zack Snyder's version that will be the version that will be shown from this point on. Because let's face it, the Whedon version was utter crap. I mean, I've never come across anyone that said that they loved it. I mean, I thought it was okay at the time, but now that I've seen the Snyder Cut, I'm like, you know what? Snyder Cut, love it or hate it, is vastly improved. Upon, whether it be characters or storyline, or even just the look and feel of it, is just vastly improved over the Whedon version. But it's left me, as a fan, wondering what could have been. Because, and I'll just go ahead and read y'all what I'm kind of talking about. It says right here, while speaking to Esquire, Snyder shared his original plans for multiple installments of the Justice League, including a sequel that explored the deaths of Aquaman, Harley Quinn, and Lois Lane. In the director's sequel, Cyborg would have witnessed a vision of these tragic moments. When asked if these stories would later be explained via expositional dialogue, Snyder responded, "No, we were going to shoot those, and they would have had elements of what Cyborg sees." Many fans were surprised by the ending of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which featured an unexpected cliffhanger. In interviews, Snyder himself has acknowledged that it is unlikely he will have the opportunity to direct sequels or spin-offs of his film, which prompted the confusion from viewers anticipating some form of narrative closure. However, Snyder provided clarifications regarding his decision, noting that a cliffhanger is very much a part of the ethos of the genre. As he articulated, a superhero movie doesn't really have an ending. It has a chapter break, but you never want to close the book 100%. He explained that he found the ending hopeful and optimistic, but it established the vision for future movies. Okay. It established it. It established a future, for future movies. It showed that desolate scene where all was lost and our heroes were on the run, many dead, the world basically destroyed. It showed this. And that's going to be the finality of Snyder's version of Justice League. Is this world that is or will happen, that will still happen. And the more I think about it, the more it makes me uncomfortable, because I'm like, like I said, love or hate the Snyder Cut, it's presented a vision that is out there, of character deaths, that whether it be Harley Quinn, Lois Lane or Aquaman that we will never get to see. Um, and to be honest with you, if Snyder's not the one doing it, I don't know if I'd want somebody else to take over the role of a Justice League 2 anyways. Um, because it won't be their vision. So therefore, they won't do it the way that he would do it. Now, I'm not saying Snyder is a visionary by any stretch of the imagination, but let's face it, just like an author, you can take the most brilliant of authors, and he can give somebody a summary of what he wants. His a book that he can where he just gives the summary of it, but a book that he wants done after his death. It won't. It'll be written by someone else. I think it was a Silmarillion. That was when I was thinking of that. I think it was a Rolling. I mean, not Rolling, but a Token that actually happened to, where it is in his voice, but it's not him that actually wrote it. And I could be mistaken on that. I need to catch up on my Lord of the Rings lore, but I do believe that that's actually what happened in that, and it was that book that was an unfinished book of his. But overall, what I'm just trying to say is they can get an identity of what Snyder wanted, but it won't be their vision, so therefore they wouldn't do it the way that he intended it to be done. And so therefore, whether it was great or it was terrible, we will never see this finished product that is Justice League 2. That hurts to a point, because now it's got me thinking, why we released, now that I guess it was all about trying to get it released, and I was cool with it being released. I wasn't like one of those that was pushing for the Snyder Cut to be released. I had in my mind, I'm like, it probably wasn't going to be that much better than the Whedon version. And even if it was, what was it really going to accomplish? I mean, was it going to... He wasn't going to come back and make a second one. So wouldn't it just be too tantalizing to know what his vision was? What if it was amazing? What if it was world-changing? And then at the end of the day, we saw it, and yet we wouldn't get a sequel to it. Or at least to that version of it, we wouldn't get a sequel to. So I was that was always kind of my mindset when it come to it. Now that I've seen it, I kind of feel that way. Because I'm like, well, okay, you keep hinting at this world. We'll never get to see this world as you intended it. Even if there was a Justice League 2, if Snyder's not the one that's doing it, we'll never get to know what his vision would be. And what are we gonna do? Are we gonna call for, if Justice League 2 sucks? Or are we gonna be like, well, we need a Snyder version of it? I mean, I will say this: when it comes to Snyder, the Snyder version of it, if you have 4 hours, and you don't have to worry about runtime, and you can put all the amazing scenes that you want to in there, and not have to worry about anything, then it kind of makes it where that anybody at that point that has even a minuscule creative mind could probably come up with a pretty good movie. So is that how all movies are going to be created now? Like, we have usually a 2-hour movie set. Now are people going to be like, well, let's see the 4-hour version of it? Like, I mean, is that where we're going with movies? Where that, half of a workday basically is a the entire is going to be the new length of movies that we're going to be watching. If that's the case, and that just completely throws the door out for theaters because people aren't going to spend 4 hours in theaters. They're just not. But now I'm kind of like, you know what? We've seen the 4 hour version of what Justice League could be. What about the 4 hour version of Avengers Endgame or any of those? What about all these other movies that have come out? How much better would they be if we see the extended cut to all of them in the form that we saw the Snyderverse, or the Snyder Cut? So it kind of leaves me thinking. It's not that I would want to see Harley Quinn's death or Aquaman's death or any of those others. It's not something I would necessarily need to see. I mean, I could live my life not ever seeing that and not ever seeing the Snyder Cut. But Justice the Snyder Cut version of Justice League too. But there's always going to be a sense that the Snyder Cut, while it was a win for fans, now that it's over, and now that we've seen it, was it really a win, or was it more of, now that it's over, we're looking at it of, it's a loss. It's a loss that we won't get to see that vision of it. And that, by all accounts, that story will never be told. At least not the way Snyder would tell it. So to me, while it might overall be a win for fans, I don't feel happy about it necessarily, because I'm like, there was so much more that needed to be told. But then at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Everything that was good about the Snyder Cut was because it was one movie that didn't have to worry about run times. He could put all the great cinematic scenes in there and make that movie spectacular, and give and flesh out whatever he wanted to flesh out, whether it be Cyborg, Flash, Batman, Aquaman, whatever, that he could flesh out. And so, to me, it's kind of unfair that if we do have a Justice League 2, and another director kind of comes in there to it, and they only have 2 hour runtime for it, and they don't get to flesh out their movie quite like the Snyder Cut was, are we going to go back to this? Well, Snyder's version was better. Well, Snyder had 4 hours to get his vision out. The other person will have 2. And I kind of felt that way with Whedon. Like, who knows what Whedon would have created if I'm not saying it would be better than the Snyder Cut, but I mean, who knows what Whedon would have created if he was given 4 hours, or any director for that matter. So I'm kind of like, now it's kind of got studios and fans in this really precarious situation where fans are going to always be thinking a movie that would have been good if it was fleshed out more. Was there something that was cut out that could have been brought in there? Is this going to be the new norm where we're going to see extended cuts that are going to be into, like, recasting, or not recasting, but reshooting of the exact same movie, and placing all those scenes into a movie that's already came out, and just posting it on, let's say, HBO Max or something along those lines, Disney Plus, wherever it may be? I mean, is this going to be the norm now? Because I'll be honest with you, as a fan, it's going to be in the back of my mind. Will it be in the back of yours? I mean, I kind of feel like it will be. Of any time that there's a movie that you feel like is just on the cusp of being great, but is just missing that one component, that one scene, that one bit of dialogue that would have put it over the top. Is it going to be in the back of our minds that, you know what, maybe that scene was edited out, and maybe if we saw the larger context of it, Maybe we would. This would be the greatest movie of all time, something along those lines. Um, it's going to be with me. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe, and I know this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people, and a lot of people probably disagree with me on. Would not shock me if these major motion movies like this, like a Justice League or Future Avengers or whatever it may be, we might get just that. Instead of maybe them releasing just the 2 hour version, we might be seeing a longer extended version of it that'll come out, or either they'll re-release it to show the extended version, and then that'll be a big event. Like, I mean, I could see maybe in the future us rewatching the same movie for some extra scenes quite often. And I'll be honest with you, I'll do it. And if I'm interested enough in the original to do it, of course, a DC movie, a fan like me of DC is definitely going to do it. So overall, my take of it is it's not that I would want to see Harley Quinn's death, but at the same time, now that it's been put out there, I don't know if there ever was a Justice League 2, if I would be content with them moving on with Snyder's direction, or either just completely diverging from it would just feel like a story untold. So I feel like it's put any future Justice League movie in jeopardy just from the jump, because now you're going to have one of two things. You're going to have people saying, well, it's not as good as the Snyder Cut because it's only 2 hours long. So then they'll have to re-release the larger version, possibly. I could see that as being something that is a could be good for HBO Max and Disney Plus or wherever it may be, but kind of bad for the fans because it'll almost be like we'll be seeing rough drafts of the original, and that'll come out, and then we'll get the larger finished product later on. It'll almost feel that way. That's the way the Snyder Cut kind of felt with me. Was we paid money to see the rough draft, and then we got the finished product with the Snyder Cut. So there's that, and then another thing is when you've got 4 hour when you've got 4 hour movies that can flesh out whatever they want. Should they ever be compared to a movie that only has to do it in two? I would say it's unfair to the director to do that, but that I feel like from now on, especially when it comes to Justice League or anything DC, there's always going to be that comparison to the Snyder Cut. And I feel like maybe to a certain extent that's an unfair comparison. But that's just me, guys. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know if y'all think any of those things are part of the future. Extended cuts, re-releases, all of these different things. I get it. We've had re-releases are not out of the question. I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen, extended cuts of movies before. So, I mean, it's not like Snyder Cut is necessarily the first of its kind, but to an extent it kind of is, because it's the first time that fans have brought it into being. So, I mean, that's the first on that one. But overall, I would just say, I'll just leave y'all on this. The question of, do you think 2 hour movies should ever be compared to 4 hour movies? Do you believe that this version of the Snyder Cut has ruined possibly any future Justice League 2 film? Or any movie that is in any kind of form of continuation of of the Snyder Cut or of DC in general, where that people will be looking at this will be the overall ending to the DC verse. Um, just let me know what y'all think in that regard. Uh, I thought it was interesting, but then I'm almost kind of like now I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I could ever look at any future. Let's say if there is a Justice League 2 movie, um, and that it wasn't made by Snyder, and it didn't continue on with what was already told in the Snyder Cut. I don't know if I would feel. I don't know. I think I'd feel like I had been not treated to the original work, and I'd be very disappointed by it. But let me know what y'all think, guys. As always, thanks for watching, and y'all take care.